I know the importance of being able to quickly turn probes over. And it's so important to have a process that's not only safe for patients, but you want to keep your staff safe. A process that makes staying compliant, quick and easy, but that's affordable. Those were all really priorities for me as an ultrasound manager when we transitioned to automated reprocessing.
Rising above the buzz of ultrasonic cleaners and the clanking of stainless steel are the ideas and voices that are changing an industry. You're listening to the Beyond Clean podcast, the central nexus for the people, processes, and products that are improving our sterile processing world. Each week, we speak with frontline technicians, CEOs, engineers, and entrepreneurs with a common goal to help you fight dirty. Every instrument, every time. Whether you are tuning in for education or inspiration, we're glad you did. Now turn on those washers and turn up the volume. It's time to go beyond clean.
On this vendor spotlight, we will be speaking with Marci Tucker and Eric Einwalter with CIVCO Medical Solutions to talk about their high-level disinfection product line and the workflow efficiencies that their products provide in the sterile processing space. They are a thought leader, and they are there to talk about innovative solutions and education, very closely aligned with our mission here at Beyond Clean. Marci also, previously to working with CIVCO, was a customer, and she'll be talking all about her experience. We're also going to get some updates on AIUM TIR 99, which gives clarity for ultrasound transport. All that and more in this vendor spotlight. Stay with us. We'll be back with Marci and Eric after a short break.
From the studios at Healthcare HQ, you're listening to Beyond Clean, the global voice of sterile processing.
Joining me now from CIVCO Medical Solutions is Marci Tucker and Eric Einwalter. We're going to be talking about CIVCO's high-level disinfection product line and all of the workflow efficiencies that can be had today as we talk through this. You all are thought leaders, and I'm really excited. Eric, you've been on the show before, so I want to welcome you back before we introduce Marci. Maybe talk a little bit about your background and say hi to the audience again.
Yeah. Hey, Justin. Hey, thanks for having us. This is great to be back. We love what Beyond Clean's doing in the industry, and it's great to highlight some things that CIVCO's doing as well.
And then Marci, you're a clinical marketing specialist with CIVCO. Maybe tell us a little bit about your role and, what really gets you excited about working for CIVCO.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So I'm a clinical marketing specialist with CIVCO. I'm responsible for customer and end user education. I am really passionate about empowering customers with the knowledge they need to succeed. That includes educating users about innovative CIVCO products and collaborating with our team just to keep healthcare professionals informed about the latest standards and best practices.
Well, that education piece is just so very important. And, we're going to be talking about some industry updates as we go through the conversation today. And I think our discussion will be incredibly educational. And so it's great to have you with us today. And then Eric, I think our audience is very familiar with CIVCO, but why don't you talk about your role as a senior product manager and then give everybody a background on the company as well?
Yeah. So like you said, senior product manager with CIVCO in our high-level disinfection space. One of the things that I'm passionate about and one of my desires is to empower SPD managers and departments to take the lead in their organizations towards maintaining compliance, increasing staff effectiveness for semi-critical probes and high-level disinfection. For over 40 years, CIVCO has been in the mission of making image-guided procedures safer. And CIVCO is a trusted supplier of ultrasound solutions around the world for covers, needle guidance, prostate diagnosis and treatment solutions, and of course, high-level disinfection. Justin, one of the things I think CIVCO looks at ourselves as a one-stop shop. We provide a wide range of solutions for image-guided procedures. So whether that's probe covers and needle guides at the point of procedure, transportation trays and bags that are device-centric, storage cabinets for safety and security, different types of disinfection, including manual disinfection for soaking products, and then, of course, automated high-level disinfection solutions. The ASTRA, which is our automated reprocessor, we've built the ASTRA with guidelines, workflow, the end user in mind. So like we like to say here, it's a way that keeps our customers confidently compliant while disinfecting ultrasound probes.
It's crazy. We've been doing this show for over 7 years now. And I remember coming into contact with you very, very early on. And I feel like at that time, just awareness around probes and high level disinfection was just not in the same place it is today. I just feel like, especially for supply chain, there's just been much more guidance, much more clarity, much more support. But at the same time, there's still a lot of workload stress, right? There's a reason that it wasn't necessarily as well known or well understood when we first started the show, and why there's been an emphasis on improving that. You're going to tie this back to patient safety, I think, throughout the conversation today. But, as you continue to go forward and support sterile processing departments, like, what is it that you all see that you feel like, hey, if we can come in and get involved, we can really help make your lives better? What's your vision around that?
Yeah, that's a great reflection, Justin. Ultrasound's been at the center of CIVCO's business for over 40 years. And, one of our biggest focuses is not just selling products, but making sure we're with end users every step of the way. When we look at the stress and the challenge of improving SPD workloads while also improving patient safety, we know that that's a large task. We know the day-to-day expectations of SPDs are super high, compressed schedules, competing priorities, fast turnaround times. It's very stressful. And we understand the desire to maximize patient safety is key as well. Our aim, Justin, is that SPD professionals would have solutions that they can be confident in, that they're compliant, and that we streamline workflows, all leading to greater patient safety.
Yeah. And Marci, what's interesting is too, I think sometimes it's just like the experience with ultrasound, I think, is pretty limited or it's kind of a niche or nuance for sterile processing in some ways versus a lot of the other equipment. And you've got this background as a sonographer and an ultrasound manager. So, how did you engage with sterile processing, in those roles, and how did you, just sort of like improve reprocessing in that way?
Yeah. Justin, I spent 25 years as a sonographer and ultrasound manager at a large academic medical center. So I understand that healthcare is busier now than it's ever been. I know that there are staffing challenges and burnout that can really make the day-to-day responsibilities difficult. I know the importance of being able to quickly turn probes over. And it's so important to have a process that's not only safe for patients, but you want to keep your staff safe. A process that makes staying compliant quick and easy, but that's affordable. Those were all really priorities for me as an ultrasound manager when we transitioned to automated reprocessing.
Great. Well, and I heard Eric say several times about having that confidence, right? And so, I definitely want to focus in on the confidence piece. And I think it's all about supporting the customer, right? So what's kind of different, for you all as CIVCO as you kind of go out there and maybe align yourself with the customer on things like you just talked about, cost savings and helping them achieve all of that, because you said the workloads are tough, right? So I feel like in a lot of cases, you've almost got to augment the staff these days to successfully implement change.
Yeah, it's great to meet customers like Marci and also now colleagues like Marci describing their interactions with CIVCO as a former customer and a former vendor. When we look at our ASTRA automated reprocessor, we think that there's differentiators that meet the customer right where they need to be. One of them is reusable disinfectants versus kind of single-use disinfectants. That leads to a tremendous amount of cost savings where the dollar is compressed, especially in this day and age. Another differentiator is the efficiency that happens around the ASTRA. It can disinfect 2 probes at once, which allows for less chemical to be used in a given cycle and improves that saving time and money and the efficiencies that come with that. As far as we're aware, we're the only reprocessor in the market that can disinfect 2 probes at once. The ASTRA also has notifications that tell a user when they need to change the bottle or other expiration dates that align with efficiencies that come with being proactively on top of their processes. From a quality perspective and a compliance perspective, there's a barcode reader for accurate data entry, and our workflows are built with industry guidelines and regulations in mind.
I remember that from our first conversation, and I just feel like baking in, the guidelines and the recommended best practices, et cetera, like building that into the workflow. So it's not something that somebody has to go back and reference. It's almost like you're training people along the way.
Absolutely. We were really excited to see Amy's TR99 come into the market. And we feel like it's been kind of a highlight reel of information, guidelines, best practices that align directly to how the ASTRA is used by our end users.
And Marci, from the customer's perspective, because you were a customer of CIVCO's before joining the team, can you talk about the support and the value of the education for you?
Oh, absolutely. So I always felt supported by CIVCO. There was always somebody that I could email or call to ask questions to. Their service teams were on site to in-service and to also answer any questions when I had them.
So Eric, since you and I last talked, you actually introduced a new product called Ultrasound. So I'd love to just tell everybody about that disinfectant as well.
Let me spotlight Ultrasound. ASTRA is highlighted by Ultrasound, which is our latest FDA-cleared high-level disinfectant that's hydrogen peroxide-based. Hydrogen peroxide has been shown to provide safe and effective disinfection for ultrasound probes, leaving no toxic residue behind, while also helping to better ensure broad spectrum effectiveness against bacteria, fungi, spores, and viruses, including HPV. Hydrogen peroxide also has improved patient safety with no odor or irritation issues.
Yeah, and I can tell you, as a CIVCO customer for 25 years, I can tell you firsthand that I trusted the quality in CIVCO products. They were really my first call for all things ultrasound. I really appreciated their customer-centered focus and that they were not only being there for me as a manager to ask questions to, but they also provided education opportunities for my staff to really learn and keep up with standards. If you look at our website, you will find so much content in the forms of webinars, white papers, and blogs. But what I think I appreciated the most about CIVCO was their mission of making ultrasound-guided procedures safe for patients, and that they were really a thought leader in this space. The trust in their mission is what really led me here today when I was looking to change my career.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest testimonials ever, right? If you've gone from customer to wanting to join the team and sort of advance the mission, Marci, I think that speaks volumes to the experience that you had with the company and the focus on education.
Yeah. And an example of education that CIVCO provided our customers over the past few months is in the form of a white paper that really breaks down the key aspects of the new TIR99 guidelines that were released by Amy, I think last spring. They can find the entire white paper under the education section of our website. CIVCO offers several products that can really help customers stay compliant with the guidelines and keep staff safe.
Well, I kind of want to walk through, because we mentioned this was going to be very educational. I'd like to walk through some of those updates from TIR99. And maybe you could start just by focusing on some of the guidance around trays.
Yeah, so Tier 99 really offered some clarification when it came to transporting ultrasound probes. So contaminated items should be contained during transport from the point of use to the decontamination area. So you should not hand carry those items. All containers should be marked with the biohazard label or by other means identifying that the items are contaminated. And then the container you use should be puncture resistant and leak proof. The items should be placed in a way that prevents damage and minimizes movement during device transport. Contaminated components should not be mixed with clean components. So the contaminated probe should not touch the cable or the plug. And then when you talk about transporting TEE transducers, those should be transported in such a way that they're not coiled too tightly in order to avoid damage.
I could tell you on that damage piece, like many years ago, I worked for a repair company, and I can just tell you, like, the cost of repairing the probes it's not cheap. It can be a big hit to the budget. And you talked about the stress on the workload and the stress on, hospital budgets and finances. And I think, it's great to see this guidance coming out because, preventing preventable repairs is really, really critical in today's world to being good stewards of, how we're spending our money. If it's something that doesn't have to be repaired, or you could make a smaller investment to save on large dollar costs associated with maintaining the equipment, like those are things I just feel like you have to do. And getting some industry guidelines around encouraging that, I think helps give justification and support to supply chain managers who already kind of know that. But I think it's really important to say, wait, now we have a guideline, or now we have guidance in general that shows us that we really need to make sure that we're following this.
Right. And then, yes, absolutely. They also offer some guidelines once the item has been high level disinfected. The clean item should be visibly marked clean or patient ready and transported on a clean surface. And then a clean and disinfected probe should be protected from contact again with that cable and plug that's not undergone any type of high level disinfection. CIVCO has a really nice solution that can help facilities stay compliant with their transportation needs.
So, Eric, do you want to tell us, maybe give us some details around that? Because, again, I feel like this might be something that people that are listening, are just getting around to, adding to their inventory. And the time of year that we're having this conversation, many people are establishing their budget for 2025 or beginning to work on it, depending on, what their fiscal year is. So would be great to hear about, CIVCO transport trays here.
Looking at the guidance from TR 99 and considering what departments should focus on in terms of transportation of their ultrasound devices, we feel there's a lot of benefits from our tray solution and how that matches the guidelines. Our TE transport tray has a reversible lid for both clean and dirty indications. It protects expensive, delicate TE probes from damage while also separating and safeguarding the high-level disinfected parts of the probe from the low-level disinfected parts, the handles and the cords and the connectors. The transport tray is 100% disposable, and it's made of biodegradable plant-based material. And it meets the probe manufacturer's coiling specifications, something that was highlighted earlier in the conversation that can cause a lot of stress and harm to the device itself.
A lot of thought went into this. I love the design around the reversible lid because I think I've seen transport containers in the past, and I've seen facilities like, try to take, the high-level disinfected tray, to the procedure. But then sometimes they have a hard time getting a budget for like some sort of biohazard bin or something for transport back. It's so, it's confusing. And then you've got two different things that you're kind of managing. I love how this has got that reversible lid. So it's really clear, hey, this is post-use and ready to go be reprocessed. Also, I think it was really important what you said. Anytime you're looking at kind of a single use or disposable solution, people's immediate thoughts go to, well, what's the impact on the environment? How do we look at sustainability? I mean, for somebody who talks about supply chain initiatives for our sister podcast, Power Supply, I can tell you, sustainability is always coming up. And sometimes it's a broader sort of definition. It doesn't just mean environmental sustainability. Sometimes it means, just like, can we continue to keep our operations going even when there's some level of disruption? But at its core, it meant environmental sustainability. And the fact that you are manufacturing this with a biodegradable plant-based material is really phenomenal. And then going back to the repairs, meeting those coiling requirements, I mean, that's where it's going to get you.
So Amy, TIR 99, also highlighted the importance of storage when it comes to your probes. They offer some guidelines such as the contaminated items and clean, disinfected items should not be stored together. So you need to keep those separate. You should store your probes according to the manufacturer's IFU to protect them from damage of being contaminated again. And then the storage area should be kept clean and dry. When you talk about semi-critical probes, so such as a TEE probe, those should be stored in a cabinet or other enclosure that is of sufficient height, width, or depth. So allowing the probe to hang vertically without coiling or touching anything. And then they should also be stored in a way that prevents damage, prevents the formation of moisture, allows the air to circulate, and protects the probe from environmental contaminations. CIVCO also offers a really nice storage cabinet, which Eric, you can talk about a little bit, but this is a really nice option for customers.
Yeah, CIVCO's ultrasound probe storage system provides safe and sanitary storage environment for disinfected ultrasound probes. There's a fan that draws air through the replaceable HEPA filter, providing a continuous flow of clean filtered air, allowing safe and clean storage. Now, that filter is easily accessible. It's located right on top of the system, and that filter life is monitored. There's an indicator light that will signal when the replacement filter is required. The storage system also has a locking door that provides secure and safety for the devices inside. And there's specialty shelves that protect probes from damage, separation of key parts of those devices, and clarity to hang them within the cabinet. And last but not least, there's a large viewing window for easily identification of probes, which is a huge user benefit to know what's being kept safe and not having to disrupt those components by opening and closing the door.
Yeah, I think that HEPA filter and also the filter life being monitored with the indicator light, like that is something. It's funny because I think about just my fridge, right? And it's got that little filter and it goes off, whenever it's time to replace the filter. So many devices that we have in our consumer lives, are thinking about those things, right? But we don't always see that in the environment of the medical world. And I just think that's just such an obvious opportunity for the way that your probe storage system works. It just is so clear. Hey, we've got the indicator light. We know what we need to do. And nobody is like tracking it through some other way. And having that HEPA filter, I can tell you guys a horrible story. I saw a storage cabinet once and it just had open holes in the top of the cabinet. And then the outside, the vent that was coming in was right above the holes in the cabinet. And it was right from outdoor air, and the dust on the vent itself right above the cabinet was really disgusting. And this is 10 years ago. So it's been a while, but I can just tell you I can tell you that when I was looking at it, I just thought to myself, I can't imagine what these probes, what condition they're in when they're being used on a patient.
Yeah. I can remember going into rooms and probes laying all over and the cords are tangled. And I just think that being able to store them in a cabinet and keep them safe from damage and contamination is just so important.
We look at protection of the probes from two ways. One being under lock and key and the ability to safely and securely put them in a cabinet. The second is the continuous air that flows over them, making sure that air is in fact filtered and safe in a way. But you're right, Justin, we all need reminders in life. So those opportunities to give the indication to the user that says, hey, your filter's coming out for replacement, keeping that always as clean as possible is our desire.
Well, it's just right in line with your whole approach to, having those industry guidelines, worked right into the workflow. I mean, it's just making it easy. And it's that part of having that confidence that you're compliant with those guidelines and regulations and industry best practices, or how to use the product properly, the instructions for use for the product, because I'm sure that the part of the replacement of the filter is included in that, but then you're making it easy for them to know how to comply with that. So many people have these like big instructions for use for their equipment, but then sometimes like making sure that they're staying up on all of that maintenance and they're not falling outside of compliance with the use of the product can be a challenge. And you're really making it easy on your customers. And Marci, you being a former customer, you're great as a testimonial. And as I said before, the fact that you decided to work for the company is probably the best testimonial.
Yes.
But I've got a couple others here that I want to read. And this is really the end user or the customer, the internal customer for sterile processing. And this one's a cardiology manager in Florida who said, "We went with the ASTRA because of its dual probe cleaning function. That is such a time saver. We recently had 15 procedures. That was a record, but since we were able to clean 2 probes at the same time, we were able to do it." And so 1 machine, 2 probes equals total efficiency for that customer. And then another ultrasound manager in Oklahoma said, "I know my handwriting is not the best, along with a lot of them. So you've got what's not as clear. You've got errors in there. People look at the date wrong." And that was the biggest thing. And this ASTRA is just automated, and it's completely taken that out of the equation. And, I may be a nurse, but I definitely have always been accused of having a doctor's handwriting. And I absolutely think that is an opportunity to, have confusion and communication, that handwritten dating. And so once again, automating that, taking manual processes and making them electronic really does help improve consistency, quality, and efficiency, for any department. And so I don't know if either one of you wants to kind of comment on either of those customer testimonials, but they're pretty telling.
Yeah, I just want to comment really quickly about the ASTRA being able to do 2 probes at a time. Like I said before, just, everybody's so busy, and it's so important to get those probes turned over because you have patients waiting. And so being able to do the 2 probes at a time, I think that's really my favorite feature of ASTRA.
Yeah, just to echo what Marci's saying, I think those 2 testimonials really just echo what we've been saying from the beginning, which is you have cost savings, operational efficiencies that come with using the ASTRA.
All right. Well, here's the other thing. You're great to your customers, and we're just going to keep offering them value as we're running through this discussion today. But you are giving 10% off list price if you mention Beyond Clean, or we'll have a link, which I can read to you now, but there'll also be a QR code in the write-up for this episode. So you can scan the QR code if you're taking a look at this on LinkedIn, or the link will be right there. But 10% off of list price. You can go to go.civco.com/beyond-clean. And so again, if you're having trouble using that link, just go to the description of the episode and go ahead and scan the QR code or click on the link right there. I do want to remind everybody to follow CIVCO on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. You can go to the website, as Marci mentioned. There's a whole educational section on the website. Go to CIVCO.com. That's CIVCO.com. Email is info@civco.com. The phone number is 800-445-6741. And if you do want to be contacted to get additional information, there's a contact form right there on the website. And we are also going to be including an educational resource, a link in the description for this episode to Amy TIR 99, but the white paper that Marci and Eric have mentioned throughout this interview. So again, be on the lookout for that. Make sure you click over there. And, Eric, Marci, I'm going to kind of give you both an opportunity for some final thoughts here, but I just want to emphasize something that I said earlier. There's just so much thoughtfulness that has gone into the CIVCO products. And I think that you've all just done a wonderful job of being a recognized resource and thought leader in this space, and truly automating so much of the compliance to just give your customers and the end users, the confidence that they're doing all the things that they should be doing to make sure that their probes are safe. Just want to commend you for that, both individually and as an organization. So maybe start with you, Marci. Any kind of final thoughts before we wrap up?
Justin, thank you so much for having us. And again, education's really important to us. Customer service is really important to us. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any comments or questions.
And Eric, it's great to talk to you again. I know I catch up with you every year at HSPA, and you've been a guest on the podcast previously, but I think you've done great work, as I mentioned before. And I want to thank you for coming on. Any final words before we wrap up?
Yeah, thanks again for having us, Justin. It's a pleasure to talk to this community and to really be able to express our understanding that the demands and the outputs and the needs that our SPD professionals face on a day-to-day basis, while also keeping in fact the guidelines and the governance that come with that, is a tall task. And so we're here to help. We hope that our products and our solutions help our user base advance what they're trying to do and advance the shared goal of keeping image-guided procedures safer. And we'd love to talk more and engage more with our customers in events like HSPA and others that give a chance to share what we're doing in the industry and hear from you as well, with education being one of the emphases to help our customers be as successful as possible.
Well, many workflow efficiencies to be had. Stay with me. I'm going to share all those links again in my final thoughts in a minute. That was Marci Tucker and Eric Einwalter from CIVCO Medical Solutions. A lot of education discussed in this conversation today, especially around AIMI TIR 99, which gives clarity for ultrasound transport. We talked through that not only around transport trays, but also storage, and how CIVCO Solutions help you achieve a safe and sanitary storage environment for your disinfected ultrasound probes. I also love just the innovation here to really help educate people who might be new to sterile processing, going through the process and just making sure that they've got your back with checks and balances and alerts and information all the way through that process. Marci talks a lot about her experience as a customer, but I also like hearing quotes from the cardiology manager in Florida and the ultrasound manager in Oklahoma. I do want to remind everyone there's a 10% off list price offer. You just have to mention Beyond Clean or use the QR code or the link. The QR code will be in the graphic description. The link will be in the description of the episode to take advantage of that. There'll also be links on their AIMI TIR 99 white paper. That's also on their website, the CIVCO website education section. Make sure you look for that link. Follow them on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Visit that website, civco.com. That's CIVCO.com. You can email them info@civco.com or call 800-445-6741. Thank you for listening to this vendor spotlight on Beyond Clean.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Beyond Clean. As a reminder, you can help support us by subscribing to Beyond Clean on your favorite podcast app or by downloading the smartphone app on iPhone or Android. Simply search for Beyond Clean in the App Store or Google Play. The best thing about downloading the smartphone app is that you can access bonus content for certain episodes and view episodes in certain categories, like articles on the go and vendor spotlights. Are you following us on LinkedIn or Facebook yet? If you are and you love an episode or post, then let your social network know about it. Like, comment, or share our posts along with your thoughts and keep the conversation going. If you have any topics or guests that you would like to recommend for a future episode, just send us an email to info@beyondclean.net. We look forward to hearing from you.